Hello and welcome to Top Story. There's fresh hope for an end to Colombia's long-running hostage crisis. Marxist FARC rebels have released 2 captives held for several years. This could pave the way for a deal that would see more than 40 hostages exchanged for several hundred insurgents jailed by the Colombian government. The 2 fortunate women are Clara Rojas, a close associate of Franco-Colombian politician Ingrid Betancourt, who's still in captivity, and former Congresswoman Consuelo Gonzalez. They've been tearfully reunited with their families after being flown to Venezuela. But whether the other captives continue to shed tears of despair depends on how far the FARC and the Colombian authorities are now prepared to go. To discuss that, I'm joined now by Sophie Tournon, who chairs the France-Latin America Association that promotes human rights on the continent. Thank you very much for being on Top Story. Is it a hopeful sign that this release happened after the previous delays a couple of weeks ago?
Oh, definitely. It's a sign of many things, I would say. First, that it is possible to free hostages. That it's possible to organize a kind of international pressure and gesture of goodwill from various governments. And it shows that if the Colombian government is decided to make this possible, it is possible. When there is a kind, I would say, political determination on both sides, I think the humanitarian liberation can be organized, and beyond that, what is the second step, I would say, to organize peace agreements.
Right, but in this case, do you think there was a real political gesture on the part of the Colombians, or was it purely a strategic move in the short term?
You know, it's a small step, definitely. There is no big declaration made, great declaration made. It's a first step. It's a tiny step, I would say, if you compare it to what is the rest of the task to accomplish. That is to say, you know, I just said the peace agreements. So what it shows that this first step is possible. Therefore, I think it is possible to build, as you said, it's, you know, it's the first part of the pavement, to begin with this humanitarian exchange in order to go further. And it shows that this is, you know, this is possible if there is political determination.
Well, on going further, the FARC delivered proof to Venezuela that several other high-profile captives are alive, so we're hearing. Is the FARC trying to gain respectability at this point?
You know, the position of the FARC is it has to be seen, I think, and analyzed on the long run. It's a very, I would say, it's the eldest rebellion in South America, in Latin America. It has been fighting for 40 years, so it's a long run on which several episodes took place, of course. I think the FARC wanted to give proof to Venezuela first and to the rest of the world that they could make a one-way gesture. We mustn't forget that it's a decision they have made, and there is no compensation from the moment offered by the Colombian government. On the other hand, the FARC made a declaration, and in the declaration they address it to the Venezuelan government, to other governments like France, Italy, Switzerland, Spain, other governments which participate in this liberation, or I would say in the international pressure in order to make this liberation possible. They address themselves also to the rest of the world, to people of goodwill, saying, and not to the Colombian government, saying that they were ready, to the people of Colombia also, that they were ready to organize with people of goodwill, you know, first the humanitarian exchange, and on the other hand, this, peace agreement I mentioned before.
It's interesting you say they address the outside world, not the Colombian government. Yeah. They're really trying to shed the terrorist label then, aren't they?
terrorist level, it's
according to the European Union and the US, at
exactly. Least. According to this classification, we must not forget that the FARC is a rebellion movement. It's a resistance movement to a pressure from extreme rightish government. That is to say, the Colombian
extreme right paramilitaries, surely, rather than
exactly.
government.
Okay, so they think they have the right, they have the duty to oppose themselves to this kind of tyranny, which is not just the problem of the paramilitary government. It's also the problem of, the repartition, the sharing of wealth in Colombia, which is extremely unequal. It's I have said before, it's a long-run problem, which has to do with 50 years, half of a century of the Colombian history.
To get back to the politics now, do you think President Chavez can now recast himself as the mediator?
Oh, definitely. I think he has been, President Bush and Uribe, without mentioning his name, said, recognized what he said, because actually, all the negotiation went down after the problem with Emmanuel. And then, the two, Piedad Cordova and Chavez, decided to go further, to struggle, I would say, against the stream, and they succeeded. So I think definitely Chavez is the leader of the negotiation for the moment. He's the one able to gather around his personality other government goodwills and.
But whether he becomes the leader, that depends on President Uribe's attitude too.
Yes and no. I would say it depends on the international pressure. Mm-hmm. And I don't think everything must be left in Chavez's hands, of course. But it's obvious that Uribe cannot now, as we have said before, just decided to, we stop here and we don't go further. There is a kind of international pressure on Uribe, which will be extremely difficult for him to put away. He has now the stone in his garden, I would say.
Right, okay. So, and we're going to see more international pressure, you believe, on Uribe,
I
on
believe,
the demilitarization.
and I hope, and I think we have to work, and my organization will work in order to make this possible.
Okay, thank you very much. Sophie Tournant from the France Latin America Association. Thanks for watching Top Story.